Dobroveče, dobrodošli u Evropsku kuću. Hvala vam što ste večeras ovde zajedno sa nama da podelimo informacije o jednom zaista važnom programu, zato što smatramo svi, nadam se, slažemo se, s obzirom da imamo dosta studenta ovde, da je obrazovanje jedna od najboljih i najvrednijih investicija koje imamo u životu. I to je nešto na čemu praktično radimo čitav život i vredimo onoliko koliko znamo. Upravo Koledž Evrope je jedna od institucija koja postoji 75 godina i koja može da vam ponudi nova znanja, naročito kada je reč o Evropskoj uniji, svemu onom što podrazumeva sistem Evropske unije, pravo, ekonomija, udruživanje, vrednosti. Na ovoj večerašnjoj našoj panel sesiji radni jezik će biti engleski. Pozdravljam i sve naše gledaoce na YouTube kanalu i očekujem naravno da večeras aktivno učestvujete u ovom našem programu. U nastavku ću preći naravno na engleski jezik, s obzirom da će to biti i naš radni jezik večeras. Good evening and welcome on the info panel dedicated to the Koledž of Europe, the institution that was established 75 years ago. On this info panel tonight, you will get all the information about Master Academy programs, campuses in Briž, Natolin and Tirana, and scholarships, and of course all other important details. The academic programs in Briž, Natolin and Tirana provide students with a specialized grounding in the Europe dimension of their fields of study, as well as in-depth understanding of Europe in all its complexity. At the beginning of our info panel session tonight, I will kindly ask Ambassador of the EU delegation in Serbia, Mr. Emanuele Giuffre, to open this session. Please, welcome.
Thank you very much. Dobar večer svima. It is a pleasure to welcome you all at Evropska kuća tonight. For two reasons, mostly. First of all, because this panel tonight is about European studies, opportunities for young Serbian students to actually learn more about Europe, and it's about a place that has changed my life as an ancien du collège, as we say, someone that has studied at Bruges a few years ago. And this is a year that has changed my life in many terms. I've met people that are still important for me today, and my career has probably taken a course of action that would have not taken if I had not been in Bruges. So I'm very happy that we can have this panel discussion tonight on the Koledž of Europe. And secondly, because we have the pleasure to have with us tonight the rector of the Koledž of Europe, Miss Federica Mogerini, that has been a politician in Italy, has been a high representative of the European Union for 5 years, and I had the pleasure to serve under her leadership, someone that also has left her mark on the Foreign Affairs Service of the European Union, and has then taken up the challenge to work and be the leader at the Koledž of Europe with a very successful development in the Western Balkans, and has accompanied the renewed momentum that we are living now in terms of integration of Western Balkans in the European Union by opening a campus in Tirana. So I am very happy that she was able to join us tonight. I'm very happy that so many of you are present with us tonight, and I'm sure that you will find interesting this panel where we will have, in addition to Rector Mogherini, also someone that has gone through the college and seen it from inside, and the Ministry of Education. So thank you again, all of you, to be with us tonight. I'm sure that you'll find this discussion very interesting. Hvala vama.
Yes, Rector Federica Mogerini, Rector of the Koledž of Europe. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to start by thanking you, Emanuele, and all the colleagues, if I may, of the EU delegation and this wonderful Europe House for organizing this wonderful evening, and thank you all for coming. I'm quite impressed and positively impressed, and it's really a pleasure for me to be here. I think I was missing from Belgrade for some 5 years, most likely. And for sure, it's the first time I come with no other agenda than offering opportunities for students, which is quite a novelty for me and a good one. I will tell you about, first of all, why the Koledž Evrope, I believe, is relevant to you personally, probably, for sure relevant to the Serbian society, to the country, but also to the region and to the European Union. And then maybe go a little bit deeper in the practicalities, if you allow me. So don't expect from me a strategic talk, but quite concrete options for your future, hopefully. By the way, I've understood that that many colleagues here, or at least some colleagues here, have studied at the college, which tells you already a lot about the career opportunities that the college opens up. And also how much then the family stays together, the network is kept. So I'll tell you my story. I didn't study at the college. I wonder why, but yet I didn't study at the college. And when I moved from being the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Vice President of the European Commission, to becoming Director of the Koledž Evrope, many people were asking me, how comes? You know, academia is not your background. What are you doing as a rector? And many were saying, okay, you stayed there for a couple of months, and then as soon as you will have an opportunity to do something else that is more institutional or political, for sure you will leave. It's now 4 years that I'm a director, and I just started the procedures to renew my mandate and stay for another 6 years. So in total, I hope that I will be able to stay as a rector for 10 years because I love it, because the college is a fascinating environment, but also because I find that there are several ways in which you can contribute to the European integration. I did it from a political point of view first in Italy. I did it from an institutional point of view as a minister in Italy and then as a high representative. And now I'm doing it from a different angle, that is contributing to the education of the generations that will forge the European integration. Because there is one peculiarity of the Koledž Evrope. The Koledž Evrope is not a university. The Koledž Evrope was born 75 years ago, before the European institutions were even conceived. The European Union didn't exist at the time. It was born with one mission that is still in our statute. And that mission says, I quote, to contribute to the European integration and good partnership relations with international players. It was the years just after the Second World War, so the idea was to create a visionary place, a college, where students from different countries in Europe and beyond were coming together for 1 year, lived together 24/7, studied together, but it was never conceived as a place where you just study. It was always conceived as a place to empower young generations to shape the integration of the European continent. And it is still that case. So for me, being where I am, it's a natural continuation of what I've done before. And I've worked for 5 years with excellent officials in the European institutions, with excellent officials in partner countries or interlocutors in different countries, including here in Serbia. And I've always thought that having officials, public administrations, but also civil society that is empowered and that understands how the European Union works and how it can be changed is the first step to make it work better. So this is why I'm doing this. And here I'm probably preventing one of the questions. How do you like it? How comes that after what you've done, you're here? It's because it's still European integration in different ways. And it's what I like the most, which is empowering young people. And you always hear that young people are the future. No, I'm absolutely convinced you're not the future, you're the present. You're already citizens, you have power, but you just need to be able, through education, I believe, through knowledge, through skills, through networking, to use the power you already have at best. So for me, this is an empowerment mission, and it's a European integration mission. So what is the Koledž of Europe? A postgraduate center of studies. We only do masters, postgraduate masters. So we're not a university, we don't do bachelors, we don't do first level masters. It's a master after the master. It lasts only 1 year, 10 months to be exact. And we only do European studies. Everything that we do is EU. Any course that we teach has an EU angle to that. We have 3 campuses today, and I'll talk a bit more about the new campus we have opened just a few months ago in a minute. But first, let me give you an overview. We have, well, the historical campus was the one that was founded 75 years ago in Bruges, 1 hour away from Brussels, the heart of Europe, where we have currently 340 students, around 50 nationalities. They live in 7 residences in the city center, where they indeed socialize, live together, and also study, hopefully. Party also a lot, drink a lot of beer too, but that's part of the networking and the socializing. Still, they manage to study, hopefully. And in Bruges, we have 4 departments of studies. We have law, politics, economics, and international relations and diplomacy. In each of them, for instance, if I say international relations and diplomacy, we do EU external action. We don't do foreign policy as such, we do European Union foreign policy, which is something quite unique. We are the only place in the world where everything that is done is EU related. And also, we are the only place in the world where you have, for 340 students, 250 professors, which is almost 1-to-1. That's quite a luxury, and that is possible because we operate on the basis of visiting professors. So our professors also teach or work elsewhere, come in the college, teach their course, supervise the thesis, do the exams, and then go back to the other institutions they work in. We have a lot of, obviously, the majority of our teaching body is academics, but we have many practitioners or former practitioners, either in the private sector or in the EU institutions or in national institutions or in international organizations. Meaning that we have a high degree of focus on practice and not only on theory. For instance, I was myself, before becoming director, teaching a course, even if I don't have a PhD, still, on EU foreign policy in practice. And I can tell you it was very interesting for me to teach a class of 20 students, very interactive, on how foreign policy in the European Union works in reality. They had a lot of knowledge, probably even more than me, on what the treaties were saying of how the European Union external action should work in theory, but it was interesting, very interesting, to bring them on the reality of how it works on the ground. So we have this mix of professors that are both academics from universities all around the world, all around Europe, but also outside of Europe, and many EU officials, many practitioners, many lawyers of big consultancies or law firms. And this is Bruges. The second campus was born 30 years ago, inaugurated by Jacques Delors when he was president of the European Commission, in order to prepare and accompany the enlargement to Central and Eastern Europe. In Natolin, in Warsaw, not in the city center, but close to. It's a beautiful campus, American style, so different concept than Bruges. So it's a fenced natural park, actually, half an hour away from the city center. We have one department of studies that is a European interdisciplinary studies with different majors that specialize in different different sectors. And there we have 120 students. The main specialization there and also the main composition of the student body is a little bit more shifted towards the neighborhood, both south and east. But also other aspects of the interdisciplinary studies are covered. For instance, history, which is a bit less covered in Bruges. And also there, the students live together on campus, and also there we have around a little bit less than 50 nationalities among the students. In both these campuses, a special feature of the student life, the college life, is the fact that students organize themselves in societies, as it happens also in other universities, national societies, thematic societies, and a lot of energy is put in extracurricular activities. I give you the example of Bruges. Basically, every week we have a commissioner, a president, a prime minister, a minister, sometimes cultural personalities that come and speak. It happened one day. I hope it will not happen again because it was a little bit too much of a stress, I think, for everybody, that we had in the morning a president of a member state and in the afternoon a vice president of the commission, and that was a little bit too much. But this gives you the sense of the exposure you get to the real life of what happens in the European Union. So it's not only studying, it's not only getting the knowledge, is also being integrated part of what happens in the European Union on that day, on that moment. And that is very much done by the students. So the students invite speakers, organize conferences, organize events, also again, national parties or national days. And that is integral part of the college life, because the key element, I would say, probably the most precious element of the college life, but here I speak under the control of the alumni, is the networking, is the fact that as you live together, you get to know each other so well and so deeply, you become family, that after that, you stay in touch forever. Probably not all the 340, but close to. And I can tell you, after I became rector, I found out that many of my colleagues, many in my cabinet, for instance, were alumni. I didn't know. But then I explained myself why they were always able to reach out to people around the world, actually, in a matter of minutes, because they had friends everywhere in different organizations, in different institutions. So the power of networking is one of the, I would say, most precious elements that is, I think, really a blessing. Sorry, I should...
Networking
yes.
was my first question.
Sorry. If you ask me to introduce the college, I risk to speak for an hour, but I'll come to the point. I'll just
about networking, so maybe
we can talk about that more later. Yes, I would just maybe mention two other things and then say a few words about Tirana. The other two elements that I would like really to underline is that apart from being empowered and organize a lot of activities, you also have to study a lot. Selection is very hard. We receive normally around 2,000 applications for 340 places. But the selection is done with one-to-one interviews. So we take a lot of time to really select the best. And 70-75% of our students have scholarships, receive scholarships, which means that the social economic background is very diverse. Everybody, as long as you are interested in the European Union and you're ready to study hard, is welcomed and belongs there. There is no filter when it comes to socioeconomic conditions. We really want to act on a purely meritocratic basis. In the course of the academic year, you have 2 exam sessions, one in December and one in June. You write a master thesis, and you have also a lot of career orientation and things like that. So, last point on Tirana. The newborn campus was started just 2 months ago. 3 months ago. In the end of August, we inaugurated our new campus in Tirana. 32 students, so we're starting very small compared to the others that live together in a dorm that is completely new, just finished to be renovated Balkan style the night before the students arrived. Literally, the staff was assembling the last pieces of furniture a couple of hours before the students were arriving, but it worked, everything was there. 32 students, 21 nationalities across the region. Unfortunately, no one from Serbia, and this is the reason why I'm here, because next promotion, I want Serbian students to be present more across the 3 campuses, but especially in the campus in Tirana that is focusing on enlargement policies. The reason why we've opened the campus in Tirana is because we noticed that there is a gap in the academic offer in Europe and beyond. Nobody is teaching enlargement, or rather, nobody is teaching enlargement anymore since 20 years. Maybe there is an institutional reason for that. There was no demand or no market, but now there is a market. Now there is a window of opportunity for accession to actually happen. And we thought, why not to form the officials, but also the citizens of the countries that will enter the European Union on how to do that, but also to form the EU young citizens on what does it mean to enlarge the union and welcome new member states, because you not only need preparedness in the candidate countries, you also need public opinions and institutions to be ready in the member states. Otherwise, it will never work. So the idea is to bring students from EU member states into the region to make them know, study the Western Balkans, the history, the politics, the economics, how it works, the culture, create connections, and to form together students of the region and of EU member states on how the accession negotiations work, how the enlargement can happen, the geopolitical implications of that, but also the practicalities of that. Just to give you an example, we will have a simulation game that will simulate the accession negotiations. It will be quite complicated to set it up, but it will have this kind of very specific accent. So we have these 21 nationalities represented. Unfortunately, and by coincidence, I believe, no Serbian student this year, but I definitely want to change that for next year and make sure that we have some students from here in the years to come. Especially because, and I'll finish on that, there is a regional dimension networking that is happening that I believe can be extremely powerful to bring the entire region in the European Union eventually, and hopefully sooner than later. But also, and I conclude on this very practical note that can bridge the video message that I believe we have, because we have scholarships for Serbian students to come to the college. And I suffer too much seeing the scholarships not used. So this is really, for me, a promotion moment to say apply. Apply, take the chance. It might not go well, or it might not go well the first time. There are students that apply twice or 3 times, and sometimes it works the second time or the third one. Apply even if you think that you're not the best possible candidate, but it might be, because it's indeed a life-changing experience, and because I think it's the best investment you can do in your own personal and professional future, but also in the way in which you can contribute to shaping the European integration here, which I believe is something that your generation is very much attached to. I stop here. Sorry, I've been even too long. And thank you very much for your presence and for your attention. And I hope to have, I'm sure we'll have a very good exchange. And I also hope to see some of you as students in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
I'll keep this one, because I don't have the...
Thank you very much, Ms. Mogerini. You will join me here in a few minutes. You mentioned scholarships, and one information I found on the website of the Koledž of Europe is that 2/3 of students get the scholarships. So it's very good news for all of young people that would like to study on the Koledž of Europe. 2/3 of students get the scholarships. That's very good information. And when we mentioned networking, now we are at the beginning of networking here in Serbia with the Koledž of Europe, but also with the partners of the Koledž of Europe. One of them is Telekom Serbia. And now we will see the video message of the director of Telekom Serbia, Mr. Vladimir Lučić.
Dear students, esteemed colleagues, partners at the Koledž of Europe, it is a pleasure to speak to all of you, even if virtually, on this important occasion. Let me start by sending my warmest regards and big thank you to my dear friend, Rector Federika Mogerini, whose support and initiative have been invaluable. Telekom Serbia is proud to be partnering with the Koledž of Europe, an institution known for its dedication to excellence and fostering European unity. Our collaboration under the guidance of Rector Federika Mogerini represents a significant step forward in our commitment to providing our students with world-class educational opportunities. This project is more than just an academic venture. It offers our students a chance to engage in cultural and intellectual exchange that will prepare them to lead in an increasingly interconnected world. By studying at the Koledž of Europe, they will gain insight into European policy making, broaden their perspective, and build a network that will serve them throughout their careers. I regret that I cannot be with you in person, but please know how deeply I support this initiative. I am confident that this partnership will bring mutual benefits and that together Koledž of Europe and Telekom Serbia are investing in the brighter, more unified future for Europe. Thank you, and I wish all participants a successful and enriching experience.
Thanks to Director of Telekom Serbia, Mr. Vladimir Lučić, and his video message. Also, I would like to welcome tonight Mr. Janko Samardžić. He's a professor at the University of Belgrade, Assistant Minister of Higher Education in Government of Republic of Serbia. Please join me here. And also, I would like to welcome Milena Mihajlović-Denić, Koledž of Europe alumni, co-founder and program director, European Policy Center Belgrade. Welcome. And of course, I would kindly ask Ms. Mogerini to join us here. Now, we will start this info session with, as we think here, important information about the Koledž of Europe, but of course, I'm inviting you to take part in this session because all of this is actually for you. So all the information you think we didn't say or you didn't understand well, please do ask, and this also is the information for our viewers, our audience on our YouTube channel that are with us at the moment, and as far as I know, there are a huge number of viewers on YouTube channel. You can also submit your question on our YouTube channel in comments, and later we will try to give you all the answers. Well, Milena, let me start with you, because you are the alumni of the Koledž of Europe, and I suppose that our colleagues are mostly interested in your experience. How did you find out this college? What were you thinking about when you decided to go on Master Academy studies? How did you see this opportunity?
Well, for me, it was actually not a difficult choice at all. At my undergraduate studies, I studied at an American university in Bulgaria, and I studied European studies already at the undergraduate level. And I was really lucky to have the best professor I've ever had. Kuzmina Tanasoju, late Kuzmina Tanasoju, unfortunately she's not with us anymore, but she was an alumna of the Koledž of Europe, and she kind of infected us all with the Koledž of Europe, I have to say. Like, all of my friends who were studying European studies, we were the first generation there. We just went for it because the way that she actually described her experience there, and just like Ambassador Joffre said, the way she was explaining, describing how it changed her life, her view on Europe, on collaboration, international relations, on many, many aspects of her studies and her thinking. It was extremely convincing. I had only one problem: I didn't speak French, so I didn't speak a word of French.
Now English and French are languages, official languages.
Yes, and I don't know how it is in Tirana. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Do you have a
this is
microphone?
something that kind of can be a challenge, but I actually managed to master French sufficiently in 2.5 years of my undergraduate studies. And yeah, I mean, it was still quite difficult for me in the French courses. I had the worst grades in the French courses, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I passed them all. So.
Now you know French and English.
Yeah.
What was the most valuable thing you get on the College of Europe? Did you get what you expected, actually?
I got much more than I expected. I mean, to be honest, I was already acquainted with this concept of campus living because at this American university, I already had that. But it was much, much more scattered there. And at the Koledž of Europe, and I studied in Natolin, so I'm a staunch promoter of the Natolin campus. I haven't visited the Tirana yet, the Tirana campus yet. I hope I will one day. But Natolin campus is absolutely amazing. And it really does foster a community. There was 104 of us in this promotion. It was a long time ago. It was in 2004, 2005. So things maybe have changed a bit from since then, but really living on the property of the royal family, Polish family Sobiecki, in this beautiful forest where one part is actually the campus, and then every morning you can go for a run and actually encounter deers and various animals. No bears, nothing scary. It was a wonderful experience. So, partying, yes, of course. There was a lot of that, going out also in Warsaw, which is a beautiful city, really vibrant. But, this sense of community, this sense that, everybody was helping everybody for whatever problem they had. It was like really living in a huge family. And I actually stayed really good friends with at least 30, 40 people.
Now you have your networking.
Yes, and I mean,
as we mentioned previously,
the program at the Koledž of Europe in general is extremely high level, extremely good. And I know that this also from the colleagues in Bruges, with whom I've also worked and encountered afterwards. The programs are great everywhere. In Natolin, for me, and I'm happy to hear now that in Tirana it will be really, really focused on enlargement. Even then, in Natolin, it was more focused on EU integration and accession topics than it was in Bruges. So for me, that was an important reason why I decided to go to Natolin and not to Bruges. The other reason was money, of course, because my scholarship was sufficient to cover my expenses in Natolin, but not to cover them in Bruges. But the other most important reason was because actually of this focus on the transformation, transition, EU accession processes, etc. But everybody from Bruges who came to Natolin was completely jealous of the living conditions which we had. I mean, our campus, the food in the canteen was amazing. So these were some things.
That, as an Italian rector, I managed to change in Bruges.
Good.
I had to. That was mission number one.
As a student, I have to ask about the exams. Is it too hard? Do you have to learn all day, all night, or?
Well, it was
you can
hard.
find some spare time?
It was hard. I can't say that it wasn't, especially because all your exams are jammed in 1 week practically. So yeah, that was hard. But I mean, if you organize yourself well, you can manage everything. And I didn't miss a single party, and I was actually the salutatorian of my generation. So I was the second best student in the whole generation and the best in my major. I majored in EU governance of the EU. And, I didn't have super high grades. I even had 111, which is the lowest passing grade you can get, in one French course where at the exam we had to write an essay in French in the class.
So I see a lot of smiles on faces of our students here tonight. Thank you for now, Milena. We heard this experience from your point of view, Ms. Mogerini. What story would you share with us as a huge motivation for our colleagues to come to the Koledž of Europe?
First of all, I think I need to say something on the French, if you allow me, because I didn't mention that in the beginning, and maybe this is an important element if somebody is considering applying. The Koledž of Europe, yes, is totally bilingual, English and French, so all graduates from the college need to pass some exams in French language, meaning not exams on French, but exams that are of subjects that are taught, and the exams are in French, but the topic is different. And this sometimes is a huge barrier. It depends how strict this is, depends on the department. In the Department of Law, for example, the French requirement is very strict and very high because, as some of you might know, the court works in French, and so the lawyers, the European Union lawyers need, or the juristes need to master French perfectly well. In other departments, the requirements for French are a little bit more flexible, I would put it this way, in Natolin, but also in other departments. There's a little bit more flexibility, but for sure, you need to be either capable of following French, and most of all, committed to studying French and upgrade your knowledge of French. In Tirana, we have a different approach to French because we know very well that in the region, French is not very broadly taught or spoken. So we are testing a completely different approach with the support of the French embassy in Tirana and the Alliance Française in Albania. So we admit also students that don't speak French, exceptionally, if they're really good. And we offer intensive courses before the start of the academic year. I have a story of a student that was admitted with no French at all, and in 2 weeks of intensive courses, he was, by the way, he was elected student representative, so he was delivering a speech at the opening of the academic year with Ursula von der Leyen present, and part of his speech was in French, and I would have never guessed that he learned that French only in 2 weeks. So that's a motivational story. So there, in Tirana, the classes in French are taking place only in the second semester, so that everybody has the time to study hard and get to the point that you can follow a course and give an exam in French. But the point is that all graduates of the colleges will be fluent in French, which I think is an asset, because at the end of the day, if you want to work on EU affairs, French is really an asset. And where you want to study really depends on what you want from your experience. Every campus and every department has wonderful, excellent points and other points that are, let's say, it depends really on what you prefer. In Bruges, you have the proximity to Brussels, and this proximity translates into more presence of the European institutions. In Natolin, you have the beauty of the place, which is amazing, and more focus on, now it's more focus on the neighborhood, both east and south. So if you want to focus more on Ukraine, on Russia, on the Middle East, on the southern neighborhoods, the MENA region, that is probably the place to be. If you want to experience life in Poland, which is different than life in Belgium. And if you want to focus on the enlargement, I would say Tirana is the place to be, and well, on the city. In Tirana, the campus is in the city center, so it's the first campus that we open in the city center of a capital city, which is I hear quite a big element of attractiveness. Yes. And also the food. I'm afraid that Tirana is better placed than Natolin on food, coffee, weather, and seaside. So the competition among campuses is increasing.
Now we have one college, 3 campuses, several different programs. In which institutions are students mostly interested in to work when we speak about European Union, or maybe to specify in which programs are they mostly interested in?
It really depends on the background. First of all, I want to say most of our students come from social sciences, obviously, law, political science, but it's not a must. We had in recent years students that were coming from medicine, engineering, military. We even had a couple of years ago a civil pilot. It was very interesting. They learn a lot also from each other. So what you're studying now is not necessarily European studies, even if that helps. The department that has less applications is economics, also because it's quite hard. On this, I have to say, you have to be prepared to study really hard. I have to tell you. But then it's rewarding. You study interesting things. The law department is, I would say, probably is considered to be the gem, meaning that also in terms of careers, the law firms in Brussels or the international law firms, especially on competition law, come and headhunt our lawyers already very early in the academic year, already in January, February. There's a lot of attention. The Department of International Relations and Diplomacy is very much demanded by those that want to have a diplomatic career or want to work on the External Action Service or in the EU diplomatic service or in the international institutions, in the United Nations, Council of Europe, OSCE, and so on and so forth, and especially those students that are not EU citizens, because obviously there are limits on nationalities to enter the Commission or the Council or the Parliament. And again, in terms of statistics, the Koledž Evrope is the alma mater that is most represented among EU officials, and most of our students in statistical terms in the course of the 5-10 years after graduation enter either the European institutions or the national institutions.
Professor Janko Samardžić is from Ministry of Education. Also, you have studied in abroad. You finished your postdoctoral studies, post-PhD studies in abroad. What is your experience, and why, from that perspective, you think this is important to have an opportunity to finish master academic studies on the Koledž of Europe, especially in the context of EU integration of Serbia?
Thank you, Your Excellencies, dear Ambassador, Ms. Mogerini, dear colleagues, dear students, first of all, it's a great opportunity to be here, and I have to greet you all first at the beginning on behalf of the Ministry of Education, our Minister, Professor Slavica Đukić-Dejanović, and we are very grateful for this opportunity to have the promotion of Koledž of Europe here in Belgrade. As you mentioned, I had quite experience abroad. I did my PhD and everything was mostly here in Serbia, but then I did postdoc in Belgium. It was KU Leuven, so we don't say Bruges, we say Brugge in Dutch. Do
you know French?
No, actually not. I was in Dutch part of Belgium, so it's forbidden. I'm joking. Anyway, we had a very nice opportunity to visit one day Bruges and to visit Koledž of Europe. It was 10 years ago, and I was really, truly impressed by academic excellence at the moment, and I'm sure that it's growing from year to year. And networking, it's really important, and maybe this is the first thing when you say about study abroad, I'm thinking about networking. And at the moment I have a network also, some of my colleagues who are also working for the government, in public institutions, especially in the universities, so we have a network, and it's very important for this kind of thing. And for Koledž of Europe, I was first of all very impressed. The second, Serbia is, and for Serbia the future is in European Union, and we need to think about it, and we need to invest in this direction. And that's why this 10 scholarship provided by Telekom Serbia is very important, because it's important at the end of the day, like you said, it's important to have supported scholarship for this program. And I think it's important to think more about European integration again. We need this European virus again here. I was infected like many years ago, and we need some kind of injection. I'm very happy that we have Koledž of Europe here in the region. We are here in Tirana, in Albania, and maybe you heard we are doing some small changes in our law. Actually, these days we are doing it to give the opportunity to foreign universities, prestigious foreign universities, to come to Serbia, to open college to Serbia. Unfortunately, we are late for Koledž of Europe, but for other colleagues, we are doing very well, and we are trying, and we are giving our best for that.
Recently, we have a pretty large number of Euroscepticists or pessimists, but now I saw one survey this morning there is about 60% of people that would vote for EU integration if the referendum, for example, would be held tomorrow. That's good news.
It's optimistic.
And yes, very optimistic. And I think you agree that this kind of education also can help in that promotion of EU values, EU institutions, everything that European Union actually is.
Yeah, this is the way it should go. We should go. And like Ms. and Director Mogherini said, you students, you are not the future or the present, and I like it because it's really now the moment to think about it, to invest in education, and also one important thing, we would like to support you all, like I did, to go abroad, to study abroad, to gain the knowledge, and to come back to your country and to work here. So I spent quite a lot of years abroad, and after that, after that I did also some visiting professorship and blah, blah, blah. But a few years ago, I'm back, and that's why I decided to accept some invitation to work for the Ministry of Education in the higher education, to help other people, so to go, to get the best possible knowledge, but also to come back here and to implement this knowledge here in Serbia.
You're the professor on the medical faculty.
Exactly.
You're not from social sciences.
No.
But what do your students say about the EU integration? Do they know enough? From your point of view, you have been abroad, you're working in ministry. Do they have a knowledge about the European?
Actually, I
Even
think
if they are in medical
they have
sciences?
a knowledge because I teach pharmacology, and
Okay.
all our regulation regarding drugs and pharmacology is EU regulation. So we are actually we have EMA, European Medical Agency, we have FDA, but actually all our regulations is according to EMA. So my students, I'm sure they know a lot about it, and that's why we are already implementing all of these regulation for the drug policy in Serbia. So for pharmacology, no worries.
Ms. Mogherini, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I need to share a couple of informations before you might want to move to the questions, but also I wanted to comment on this because indeed I do regularly individual office hours with the students, so I spend half an hour with each of them, try to cover them all, and just to talk about their interests, their dreams, their careers, their thesis sometimes, and literally there is no single aspect of life, not only inside the European Union, but also in most of the candidate countries, that is not affected somehow by the European Union in terms of norms, in terms of regulations, so I'm sometimes surprised, but there are students that do their master thesis on topics that I would have never imagined, and yet, indeed, the European studies can actually touch any single aspect of life. And a couple of informations I need to give is one, a fundamental one that I forgot to mention. If you consider applying, you have time till the mid of January. So go have a look on the website. You have to put together a file and send it.
What is the first point that they should do when applying? What is the first point?
Go to website. Okay. You see apply. Then you see what you need to put together. It's not a big deal. It's perfectly doable, and that needs to be done before. I think the deadline is around the 10th or the 16th of January. Then we screen all applications. If you are pre-selected, you are called for an interview, normally in person or online. Normally we try to do it in person, in individual interview. And then if you are selected to that too, we try to match with a scholarship. And the other information I wanted to give is that indeed a few years ago, the campuses had different fees. Now, Natolin and Bruges have the same fee. Tirana is a little bit lower because the cost of living is a little bit lower than Warsaw and Bruges, because the fee includes also the boarding and lodging. So if you get a scholarship, you are covered not only for the academic activities, but also for the boarding and lodging, so you don't have any other expenses.
Maybe it's important to say that not all kinds of diplomas are okay for applying, but students must have some diplomas that refer to apply level.
Yes, exactly.
It's a master diploma?
It's a postgraduate master, so you have to have a master already. Yes.
It's very important, I think, maybe
Absolutely, yes.
just to know that it's not four-year academic studies.
It's not post-bachelor,
Yes.
it's post-master. The other important thing on the diploma that we give is that the diplomas across the 3 campuses, so including in Tirana, are accredited to the Dutch Flemish authorities. So all the diplomas that we deliver, being it in Bruges, in Natolin, or in Tirana, have the same legal value, and that is the value of a Dutch master program.
Is there any deadline for scholarships applying?
No, the scholarships are matched once the selection process is done. So the first step is to present an application file. Then the second step is having the interview if you are pre-selected. And once you are selected, then there is the matching with the scholarship.
Can anyone apply on several programs at the same time?
Yes, several
So
programs
maybe
and several
if he doesn't
campuses.
pass in Tirana, maybe he will pass in, for
Yes,
example...
exactly. Yes, because different departments have different criteria. So you can apply, you can indicate preferences.
Are there any fees for applying?
No.
No, it's free. Just
Absolutely.
to go on the website and get all
Exactly.
all the information.
Exactly. And we value enormously, something I didn't mention, but I think it was implicit in my words, but still it's good to mention that. We have, in this last couple of years, increased our work on especially having a very diverse environment. It is already diverse for national backgrounds, but we are working a lot on diversity and inclusion. So we try to have all kinds of backgrounds represented, being it gender orientation, ethnic minorities, whatever is not only welcome, but also we actively seek to have the most diverse student body that we can.
Now we have here one alumni, Milena. Was it hard to apply all the procedures? How was it that when you apply?
It was very long ago, but as far as I can remember, no, the application process was not too demanding. I had to write some essays. I mean, I was applying for other master degrees at the time as well, so compared to the other applications, it was not more demanding or more difficult. I was allowed to make point out my preference. And as I said, I mean, I did get a scholarship, and for me, getting a scholarship was the absolute precondition for going to the Koledž of Europe. But it was not just about the worth of the scholarship. The scholarship was actually the same for Bruges and for the Natolin campus. But of course, even when you have the full scholarship, and at that time, at least, they were giving some additional money that I was supposed to use for health insurance. Of course, I didn't buy health insurance because I needed the money for my basic costs. The actual costs of living are something that you should take into account. So nowadays, I doubt that Warsaw is much cheaper than Bruges is, but Tirana probably is. So at that time, in 2004, when I was starting, definitely Warsaw was a cheaper town to experience, you know. I mean, you want to go out, you can't spend 50 euros or 100 euros, you know. I mean, you have like money for one drink.
Life.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you know, for cultural events, for travel around the country, this is something to take into account, simply.
But to mention also that the scholarship covers the costs of the education and also costs in campus.
Yes, living. Yeah, you hear me? Living is covered, food is covered, and also in some cases, some cultural activities. We have student cards. In some cases, sport activities have facilitations or transport or cultural events. It depends city to city or year to year. Sometimes we have special agreements with local authorities. For sure, Tirana is much cheaper. And for sure, Warsaw has become much more expensive. Yeah. Probably, then it depends on what you spend your money on.
Yeah, of
in
course.
Belgium, probably beer is very cheap, but other things are more expensive. But it's true that what I notice is that our students tend to, again, the 75% of them that have scholarships, I have not detected any major issue on the money they spend apart from life on campus. Also because apart from studying and living on campus, there's very limited time to do other things. Unless you want to go back home in the weekends, for instance. That obviously can become expensive. But if you live on campus, if you live the place where you have chosen to be, I wouldn't say that you have many expenses apart. Not definitely less than if you were going to any other academic institution, because again, food and lodging is included, so it's quite convenient.
Do we have enough experts in EU integration process at the moment in Serbia?
Maybe I'm not the best speaker for that.
From your practice, for example?
Thank you very much. It's never enough, but I think we need more awareness and more experts really to explain why is it important. And like I said, in medical field, in pharmacology, there is no need to explain more because everybody knows that we are doing everything according to the EU regulations. So we are ready from that aspect, but for other political issues, of course, there is still steps to do, and I'm aware of that. But I think we need more experts, and that's why I think Koledž of Europe is the excellent opportunity for experts from Serbia, and hopefully we will have candidates from Serbia next year.
Yeah, we do hope so.
I would actually, I think that's the EU ambassador should answer that question, but my impression is that, and here maybe I say something more related to the EU integration process than to the college. If there is really a chance for the region to come into the European Union and Serbia to become one of the next member states of the European Union in the next 3, 4, 5 years, this implies massive work on capacity building in the public administration, in the private sector, in civil society, in every sector of society. I was recently talking to people that have been involved in the accession process of Croatia, that has been the last member state joining in 2013, and they were telling me that the capacity building that was needed at that time was impressive. And it really touches all sectors of life, public and private sector equally. So if really this is going to happen in the next years, it will need to be really boosted in terms of academic programs, executive education trainings, in a way that we cannot even imagine today. This is actually why we opened the campus in the region. And I really want to pass this message. The campus in Tirana is not a campus for Albania. It's a campus that intends to serve the region and beyond. And this is the reason why we opened it, because I believe it's a political bet. A student asked me once, and what if the enlargement doesn't happen? Okay, then we'll recalibrate the program. But I really believe that it will happen, and I really believe that if it does happen, it will need people to make it happen. And I don't think that we are there yet. So for me, this is really the best investment you can do if you want to try and join soon rather than later.
You are former High Representative of the European Union Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, and now you're in everyday communication with students. I suppose that they're very interested in your previous job. What are the questions that they usually ask you? What they want to know from the position of High Representative in the European Union?
Many ask me about career advices more in general terms, how to plan, how to prioritize things, how to manage different things. Some have questions on specific institutions, or how to strategize the career path. Is it better to start from a national career and then move to a European one, or rather the other side? Is the Commission rather than the Parliament or the Council or the External Action Service, something like that? But many women in particular, many girls ask me about the work-family balance.
Is it possible to succeed?
Is it possible to succeed? I normally encourage men students to ask me the same question, because it's exactly the same for men and for women. But many of them ask me also about policy issues, how it was during my mandate, especially on some topics, especially the students on international relations are very curious about some files. Many ask me about the Iran nuclear deal, many ask me about the Middle East, many ask me about the region, many ask me about the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue. So these are the topics that still are very much on the minds of...
And what advices do you give them, having that kind of experience in practice? As we know, sometimes, or maybe very often, theory is much different than reality. So what advices you give them?
Well, depends very much on what they ask or the profiles, but in general, I give one simple advice on career that has always worked with me. I never planned my career, but I was always very much sure of what I was interested in. Since the age of 16, 17 years old, I knew that the world was what was interesting for me. International relations, foreign policy, well, it was the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, so it was interesting times.
And I knew in high school at that moment.
I was high school, yes, but that is what triggered my interest in the world. And I was always sure that was my field of interest, and then I could take it from different angles. It could have been civil society, it could have been political party, it could have been national parliament, it could have been government, it could have been European Union, but it was always foreign affairs and security and defense. And so my advice to the students is this: find your field of passion, find what you are triggered by, what is really motivating for you. I always try to give them this exercise. Imagine a November, well, today, a day like today, a Monday morning, 6 a.m. in November, outside is dark and cold, and you have to get out of bed. What brings you to your job with a little smile instead of, oh my God, it's a Monday morning, 6 a.m., cold and dark, and I don't want to be here. If you have passion in what you're doing, you do it better. You enjoy life much more. And again, it's not necessarily a job, it's not necessarily a place, but it's a passion, it's a field. Find what motivates you, and then around that, you can take it from different angles. That is normally my advice. And also imagine the life around it. The place where you will be, the environment where you will be. Do you like an international environment? Do you like a 9-to-5 job? Do you like to stay close to home, have more free time? So it's also considering the life that can be around it.
Do you miss the engagement in EU Commission? Do you miss that busy working days?
Look where I am. How could I miss it? I'm still serving the European Union. Maybe
it's a little slower in education. From that point of view?
I learned that actually the pace of how much you work is more related to how you work than on the agenda that others put together for you. If you look at my program for today and tomorrow, it's exactly the same. It's not the same. In some cases it's the same, but it's the same rhythm that I would have had in the past. No, what is different is the public pressure, obviously. I'm here talking with you about deadlines for applications rather than, again, more controversial things. But no, I don't miss it because I'm still serving the European Union in a different way. And I enjoyed it a lot.
That's a very good message for our students, I hope, for students here in European Union House in Belgrade, and also for our audience on our YouTube channel. As I mentioned on the beginning of this panel session, we will have the opportunity to have some question and answers in next 15 minutes, if you agree. So if there is some questions, yes, we have a colleague here.
Okay, thank you. Are students allowed to... I knew that this isn't a good idea. Yeah. Do students have opportunity to do non-EU students have prospects of finding a job after the studies in the EU or diplomatic setting or something along the lines of international environment?
Thank you.
Students are not allowed to work. Obviously, we don't check every single student's schedule every day. But in principle, no, you're fully dedicated to studying, especially if you have a scholarship. You're expected to study full-time. And also, that is my strong recommendation, because contrary to all other academic experiences, this is only 10 months, and it's extremely intense. Extremely intense. You have classes every day, sometimes evenings included, Saturdays included. We try to avoid Sundays, but you really have classes almost constantly. And the exam sessions are very tough. You have presentations, you have a master thesis to write, and you have the college life you don't want to miss. And it's only 10 months. So not only is it not allowed, my strong advice is to make the most of those 10 months. In terms of career perspectives, non-EU students have very limited possibilities to have internships or career perspectives in the EU institutions. But especially, I believe, now with this new window for the enlargement, especially in the Western Balkans, I think that graduates from the college, especially those that will graduate in Tirana, will have a lot of opportunities, not only in the region, but also in the, potentially, in everything that will be EU-related in the region. The EU delegations, the Regional Cooperation Council, all the initiatives that will that are already accompanying the integration process. You hear me still?
Yes. Now we are.
And also can become multipliers. I was mentioning that the capacity building will be enormous, the needs for that. The graduates, especially in Tirana, will potentially act as trainers for training others because they will have the knowledge. And also, if the interest is rather working in Brussels and around the European Union, most of our students, actually even most of our EU students, do not work in the EU institutions, but work in the so-called EU bubble, consultancies, think tanks, NGOs, media, civil society organizations. So that is also EU-related, and for that you don't need to be a EU citizen.
Milena is...
master's diploma that we have obtained, do all of them have to be recognized by educational institutions from Belgium?
No.
I don't know.
No, not necessarily. No.
American university, and I wasn't. I mean, there was no obligation to get the diploma recognized officially. If you have the diploma of your country or of a recognized academic institution, this should not really be an
Regarding
obstacle.
to the job position,
I
Milena
wanted
is
just
the co-founder of
thing. Yeah.
one NGO, and you're still in EU affairs.
So what I wanted to say is that on your question regarding career opportunities, from the experience of all the people working on EU integration and also who graduated not only with me, I mean there were no people from Serbia, there were some colleagues from other countries in the region, but also those who graduated afterwards. Some of them did end up in the EU. But the point is that actually for young graduates, to me at least, I mean, from my experience, the opportunities were much better coming back here than trying to stay somewhere in the EU. I didn't have a dilemma on that because, somehow I was, okay, that was the period of really big optimism on EU integration in Serbia, the mid-2000s, and I really wanted to come back to my country and work on EU affairs, and I actually started working in the EU integration office the moment I came back. So that's my point. I mean, there was really a huge demand for people with my kind of profile. And I basically met my future boss at the interview for my master's thesis. And, you know, I was writing on public administration reform and EU integration process in the Western Balkans, in Serbia and Montenegro. I went to interview a lady working on institutional building for EU accession at the EU integration office. And at the end of the interview, she asked me, would you be interested to come and work for us when you graduate? You know, we really need people like you. So it was super easy for me. And my colleagues from the region, and this is something that I really advocated for years, and then I completely gave up after some years. But my colleagues from the region at that time, they had scholarships that were given by their governments. Normally, they were coming from different donors, you know, it was not always paid by the government, but those were government scholarship schemes, which allowed them to go to the Koledž of Europe, they also had it for some other universities, study for a year, then come back and work for their national administration for a period of usually 3 years. If they wanted to leave that job early, then they would have to repay a part of the scholarship. If they stayed the whole period, after 3 years, they were free to go anywhere else, but they got this amazing experience working in the public administration. And I have to say that for somebody, I mean, for anybody who is interested in EU affairs and EU integration, starting your career in the government sector is a good idea, because you really start to understand how policy works in practice and how it doesn't work in practice as well. And after 6 years in the government, like as a civil servant, then I decided to do something else, and I left the administration and I worked as an expert. I started my own think tank, which now has 27, 28 people working for it. We are like a major EU-level recognized think tank. And this is something that, I mean, I think to a huge extent I actually owe to my experience in the Koledž of Europe.
Maybe it's also the good opportunity to make a new network, starting with this cooperation with the Koledž of Europe, maybe.
And I think we will for sure need experts for EU in the coming years. So we have Ministry for EU Integration, led by our minister, Tanja Miščević. So I believe it will be growing in the coming years, so we will need the experts to come back to work here, not only for government, but also for NGO, also for all the different
institutions. I mean, all institutions need EU experts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, do we have another question? I saw several hands raised, okay? Colleague. Just a second to have a microphone, okay. Philology faculty.
Languages.
Yes. I mean, after I have a master's, for example, and a bachelor's, and I've been working for the last 8 years. So I'm wondering if it's possible in this case to apply, or if somebody has to be just graduated.
Not only from social sciences.
It's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible, yes. This is absolutely possible. What is normally requested is to have some background on some either European studies or having an interest in European integration, on also being active in civil society or some form of active citizenship. And then really very much depends on the interview sometimes. And also, something else I didn't mention, there is no age limit, meaning that, and there is also no national quota, meaning that we also have some students that come back to studies to do a master after having worked for a while. So, yes, but a master on philology is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean...
If I can just add, I went to the Koledž of Europe right after university studies, and I was the youngest there. And I had actually a number of colleagues who had worked for a couple of years or a few years and then went to the college for the master.
I mean, I work internationally with people from Europe, actually, from both Western and Eastern Europe. So I have an interest in international affairs, but generally speaking, I don't have any background, like real practical experience, except for teaching English. I teach business English to people.
I think you can definitely apply. You can definitely apply.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Next question. We have a colleague over there.
Yes, first of all, would it be okay if I quoted you in an article I'm currently writing for the Belgrade Open Schools online portal, which is dedicated to the European integrations with Serbia?
Absolutely. Yes. The more you spread the words, the happier I am.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Ivan. I'm studying international law here at the Faculty of Belgrade, University of Belgrade Faculty of Law, and I have some. I hope it's not a problem that I've written down some questions specifically related to the new EU budget right now that is about to be passed. If I recall, about a few weeks ago, there was some outline of it, and I think there was a drop in perhaps more than 200 million euros, which were related to things like Erasmus Plus and I think it was Horizon Europe, that project. How exactly is the Koledž Evrope financed, and do you think it would be a problem in the future? What are its prospects when it comes to new financing, especially now that a new college is opening and has actually opened in Tirana?
How the college is funded, the different campuses are funded differently. And also, if you want to know the governance, the administration of the college is a bit complex. At the end of the day, we are a semi-EU institution, so we also need to be complex ourselves somehow. So from an administrative point of view, the campuses in Bruges and in Tirana are joint, so are connected. And they are financed. In Bruges, we are financed, I think, around 60% by European Commission money. So it's DG ERC funds through an operating grant. The same goes for Natolin. We also funded by and the same applies to Tirana. So it's money coming from the European Commission. We are also funded by the local authorities, being it national or local, in terms of facilities. For instance, the premises of the Natolin campuses are offered by the Polish government. The premises of the campus in Tirana are offered by the Albanian or the municipal authorities. And some of the facilities in Bruges are offered by the municipality of Bruges. So, and we also get some support for the Bruges campus from the Belgian federal government. And then obviously we are also financed by the fees of the students or the scholarships that substitute the fees. And we also have some private sponsorship, but very limited. So we are mainly funded by public EU or hosting countries' money and the fees of the students.
And do you think, therefore, it could be a problem in the future?
No, at least not that I foresee, because actually, even for the opening of the Tirana campus, we had, for the initial 2 years, full coverage by the engineer. So it is slightly different than the rest. I think because this project is seen as an investment to accompany the enlargement to the region. I didn't make this parallel, but it's quite obvious. The narrative in Brussels, and I think, and I hope also in the region, is this, that as Natolin accompanied and prepared the enlargement of 2004, the campus in Tirana will prepare and accompany the enlargement to the Western Balkans.
We just hope that it will be less time between the opening of the campus and the accession.
Exactly. Well, it's less countries, so it should be.
Hopefully.
So no reason to worry.
No.
Next question we have here.
Thank you.
Good
Allow
evening.
me to steal 1 minute from the time that should be dedicated to students' questions. I teach at the Koledž Evrope, actually. Unfortunately, I'm the only professor from Serbia or from the Balkans, and among just a few from the category of non-EU citizens that teach in Natolin. This is my 9th year in Natolin, and I have a course on the Western Balkans. And I wanted to use this opportunity to recommend, actually, any of 3 campuses to our students. And don't think about working. You will hardly get enough time to sleep. So let me tell you, I know I've spoken to many students during the last 9 years. It's a very, very hard work. It's sometimes you haven't experienced in Serbia or in the Balkans. So you must be prepared for it. But actually, the rewards are there. For professors, the best reward is you have the best students, actually. Look at Milena. Milena is the ideal type, actually, a very excellent student that has now a fabulous career, actually. I give my students Milena's text to study from. So there are many like her. And the last thing, I won't take you more time. It's good that there are sponsors for scholarships. We've been, we needed actually students from Serbia and from the Western Balkans. There are not many of them, but some countries, some governments in this region actually have prioritized actually this, the issue of scholarships. And unlike the Serbian government, which is still hesitant about whether to go towards the EU or not, they've been giving actually scholarships much more before. And it's important, I think, that in addition to sponsors, the Serbian government gives their own scholarships. That would be one sign more, or the only sign, that it is dedicated to the accession. So join, apply, and join any of these three campuses. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your experience, for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you for teaching at the college. It's great. It's great.
Do you still work on college?
Yeah, this is my 9th year. Yeah. But I never have the opportunity to speak with my rector.
Here I am. We have, by the way,
this is also
another.
Networking.
That is also networking, absolutely. We also have at least one other Serbian professor in Tirana, and yes, exactly. But she's exactly yes, but she's Serbian, and yeah.
Refer to
and I think another, maybe even two. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm taking also very seriously your suggestion, Professor, colleague, about the scholarships from the Serbian government.
I have an entire policy paper which I wrote like 10 years ago, and it hasn't, any of the recommendations hasn't been implemented. And I will send it to you. I have your
That's
email.
networking too. You see?
No, because for
Nice.
me, you know, it was great that I didn't have any obligation. I was given the scholarship by the King Baudouin Foundation. They just, you know, I was just matched with a scholarship, so I never had to apply for a
But
scholarship.
Telecom Serbia is first, so they give.
But for me, it was
scholarships.
strange, really a strange experience, because all of my colleagues from Montenegro, from Croatia, from Macedonia, from Greece, everybody was getting the government scholarships. They were getting national scholarships. There were national selection committees which were selecting the students who were getting the formal scholarships of the government. And it was an amazing investment in the capacities.
Yeah,
So
I think
we
it's
have-
time for that. Yeah, I think it's time, and I take it very seriously. And we are talking about it. Actually, these days we are talking about supporting our students for the prestigious European universities to study, and it will be supported by
When we
Serbia.
meet next year,
Yeah.
we expect
Yeah.
some news
Yeah.
on this point,
Yeah,
on
for
this
sure.
issue. Okay, thank you. Thank you in advance. Next question do we have here, or should I read some questions from our YouTube channel? Of course, it's still open because we are streaming this program. We have a colleague over there. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Milica Stankic. I'm member of Youth Council of EUSIR and also Finance and Fundraising Associate in Model of European Union in Berlin. I wanted to ask you a little bit different question from others' audience. Do you have actually Koledž of Europe collaborate in organizing Model of European Union? Or if not, would you like to collaborate in the future? Thank you. That's my question.
I don't know the answer. I knew that at a certain moment there would come a question of which I don't know the answer. At the college we do so many things that I am not sure of everything that we do, meaning that there might be things that we do and I'm not completely aware of. For sure we, also because most of this kind of activities are done either by the student society, in this case by the departments. And as we have now six departments, I didn't mention that we also have a transatlantic program with the Fletcher School in Boston. So we have 6 6/7 departments, and then in Natolin you have the majors that are not departments but still are articulations. So there might be things that we do of which I'm not fully aware. But for sure, for instance, we do the United Nations model with the International Relations Department. I don't exclude that we do also the EU one. If you're interested in that, we can follow up, and I can put you in contact with part of the team in one or other of the campuses, and for sure we can partner. I think it would be excellent, for instance, to establish a partnership of this kind with the newly established department in Tirana that is actually on, yes, EU transformation and integration with the special focus on the Western Balkans, and maybe we can do something together in that respect. Thank you.
We have a question on YouTube channel. Why is French mandatory for the studies? How are we supposed to learn French from scratch in 2 weeks?
That's a good question. The reason why French has always been part of the studies is history. As you mentioned at the very beginning, the college celebrates this year 75 years. And if you go back 75 years from now, you can imagine a Europe that is very different from today. It was just after the Second World War, and the reconciliation between, well, mainly France and Germany, but not only, was key and was essential. And so the bilingual element started there. And also stayed as the college alumni and the college community. You use the word community, that for me is really the essence of the college experience. As the Koledža Evrope community increased and developed, it was more and more connected to Brussels as the European institutions were developing, where French obviously is, well, the language that is spoken, even if, yes, there is also one side that is Flemish, but but it's a real thing, it's a real thing. And now still French is one of the 3 official languages of the European Commission. Obviously, the Council and the Parliament work with all the official languages of the European Union, but in the Commission, every document is translated into English, French,
there are some differences in Tirana campus, so...
Exactly. Yes. And there are students that are, let's say, not at all fluent in French when they are admitted, even if, in principle, that shouldn't be the case, but there is some flexibility. Again, if you don't speak French, my advice is not to apply to the law department, but to other programs you might. And also consider this, it's not only 2 weeks. You apply in January at the latest. If you're selected, you know that around March, normally, March, April, it depends on how long it goes. So you have time till September to study. And again, we offer courses in presence for limited time, online for longer time. You can also study by yourself. And once you enter, yes, the rhythm is high, but it is possible.
But it's a great effort, of course.
And think of the positive side.
Yes,
at the end of 10 months, you speak French, which is a big asset.
I just wanted to add also that, yes, at the Natolin campus, we also had an intensive course of French before, for those, before starting the year, for those that really had a problem. There were also intensive courses offered at least throughout the first semester,
yes,
I
also
think.
In Bruges and
yes. And I have to say that, you know, once you actually start studying, of course, I mean, when the exam comes, it can be difficult. I mean, I had to do an oral exam in French for the first time in my life, and it was a huge, challenge. But somehow, it's doable. First of all, and second of all, you can't really do EU affairs on the same level if you don't speak French. I mean, not only the European Commission. I have a number of colleagues in my think tank who don't speak French, and now we as a think tank are paying for their French lessons, because it turns out that, you know, in the communication with the experts, with the officials, it really pays out that you speak at least another EU language, and French, let's say, is probably the first after English.
Yeah. In any case, in Tirana, again, there's, if you want, you can have only one exam in French in the second semester and stick to that. We encourage always to have more than that, but if you want, you can just have one.
There is another question on our YouTube channel. Holders, that this student, I suppose, found information on the website that holders of a bachelor degree are also eligible provided they demonstrate strong qualification in relation to the academic program for which they apply. So we mentioned
yes, there is an
diploma.
exception, but there you need to have a strong EU profile.
Yes, as we mentioned previously. Is there any question more here? Okay, here is a colleague. Just to say, we have 5 minutes more because we have some other
short. I want to ask for some conditions. You said that the condition is to finish our master program in Serbia, and including that I'm still on the master studies, and I'm going to finish in the next year. Is it possible to apply in this January next year?
Yes.
And in the meantime, if I finish my studies, can I go to study on the European college?
Yes. This can absolutely be possible. Obviously, it's a little bit, I see that it might be a little bit difficult sometimes, especially if it depends on the calendar of the academic year here, of which I'm not 100% sure. In the Italian system is the same. Normally you finish the academic year in summer. You have a little bit of an overlap. Consider that that might be a little bit stressful. There are some students, but the answer is yes, you can apply now if you plan to finish your master before September. It can be a little bit stressful. There are some students that miss their graduation day because they have already started the courses in the college. Consider that normally the college calendar starts earlier than a normal academic year here. We start our courses in the end of August. So you have to calculate that, but yes, it is possible.
Grazie.
Okay. Grazie a te.
Can we also apply for other scholarships that are promoted on your website?
Yes.
That don't oblige us to come back and work for a dollar?
For sure. You can apply for other scholarships. There are also, specifically for Tirana, other scholarships that are available, for instance, from the engineer for students of the region. There are some member states of the European Union that are providing scholarships for students of the region for Tirana. We have, in Tirana, I didn't mention that, all the students but one have scholarships, which is 95%, because we've had the luxury of starting from scratch, so we have done a sort of pledging exercise to try to cover all students. So there are also other opportunities, yes.
More questions, or we are finishing here? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you also.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really a great pleasure to talk to you and to hear all this information. And we begin this panel session with networking and making community and new friendships, so we will continue in that manner. Networking in front of this room can continue. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here, and thanks the audience on our YouTube channel. Welcome to the European House next time, and hope to see you again very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.